All right, we're diving into something big today. We're going to tackle those invisible prisons. The ones that can hold our minds, our energy, our true potential completely captive. We're going to explore how to break free.
And this quote, wow, it just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it? It's that feeling of being stuck, just going through the motions, knowing deep down that something essential is missing.
And that feeling, it leads to a really crucial question. Is this state, this numbness, this autopilot mode, is it just an accident? Or is something actively hijacking our focus, our energy, and our will? To even begin to answer that, we first have to really understand the cage itself. I mean, what does this invisible prison actually look and feel like in our everyday lives?
So these are some of the symptoms. And I bet a lot of this sounds pretty familiar. It's a society that feels demoralized and divided. We're lost in a vortex of self-entertainment, feeling like cogs in a machine, like little Oompa Loompas. And get this. One source argues that our education system was basically set up to create obedient workers, not free thinkers. The result of all this? We're just constantly drained.
So this leads to a powerful and kind of unsettling idea. What if this constant drain on our energy isn't just a side effect of modern life? What if something is actively feeding on it? One of our sources uses the word parasites, not in a biological sense, but as a metaphor for all the invisible things that just drain us. Limiting beliefs, old traumas, the societal programming that tells us to just follow the rules and keep consuming. These things, they thrive when we're in a state of fear, stress, and division.
So naturally, when we feel trapped, we look for a key. We look for a way out. And for a lot of us, that search leads to the world of self-help and these really charismatic gurus who promise they have the answer. But are these man-made keys really the right fit for the lock?
A huge movement in this world is something called neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, and it was started by two guys who were total opposites. You had Richard Bandler, the popular creative showman, and then you had John Grinder, the quieter academic type, who would go on to mentor one of the most famous self-help figures in the world. And that person is, of course, Tony Robbins. He took the ideas of NLP and just blew them up, building a global empire on the promise to help millions awaken the giant within. But behind that massive public image, our sources paint a way more complicated picture. You start digging and you find these first-hand accounts, a lot of them on places like Reddit, and they are seriously critical. We're talking accusations that he's, quote, lied, cheated, and stolen to get where he is. People describe his events using techniques some call brainwashing 101, controlling sleep, food, even the temperature to make people more suggestible. And there are even reports of cult-like behavior and these special rooms at events that really don't match the public brand. Now, when you see stuff like this, it's good to have a critical thinking tool ready. Is this a valid critique of the actual methods? Or is it an ad hominem argument, where you're just trying to discredit the message by attacking the messenger? It brings up a big question. Can a flawed person still offer valuable tools? And maybe more importantly, is there a better key out there somewhere else? Because if the world of human gurus is a total minefield, where else can we look? Well, the sources we explored suggest a really radical shift in perspective. Stop looking up to a person on a stage and start looking down at the ground right beneath our feet.
And this is where we enter the incredible kingdom of fungi. Now, we're not just talking about mushrooms. That's just the fruit. We're talking about the vast, intelligent network hidden underground, the mycelium. The famous mycologist Paul Stamets has this amazing way of describing it. He doesn't see it as just some plant root system. He calls it Earth's natural internet. He thinks it's a sentient, responsive network that connects the entire ecosystem. And just look at this. It's mind-blowing. On one side, you have the mycelial network. On the other, the neural network inside our own brains. It's the same branching, interconnected design. It's a universal pattern for sending information and creating intelligence on a planetary scale and inside our own heads. So if we're connected to this natural intelligence by our very design, how can that help us break out of the prison we talked about? How does it give us a reset button for a mind that's been hijacked? So this is from modern brain imaging studies. On the left, you see a brain with its normal, rigid pathways of thought. But on the right, that's the same brain on psilocybin, the compound from certain mushrooms. It's not chaos. It's a state of hyperconnection. All these new communication pathways are lighting up between parts of the brain that don't normally talk to each other. And this isn't just a temporary light show. It's a physical process called neurogenesis. The compound literally encourages the growth of new neurons and new connections. Your brain can physically build new roads, bypassing those old, deep ruts of depression, anxiety, and trauma, the very patterns that those metaphorical parasites love to feed on. For a really powerful, personal example of this, look at Paul Stamets' own story. He had a terrible stutter his whole life. Then, during a high-dose psilocybin experience, he climbs a tree in a thunderstorm and just keeps repeating to himself, "Stop stuttering now." The next day, his stutter, a deeply ingrained neurological pattern, was completely gone. He literally created a new pathway in a single day. Okay, so we've seen the prison, we've looked at the flawed man-made keys, and we've explored this powerful, natural alternative. So what's the true path forward? After everything we've looked at, what's the fundamental principle here? How do we unlock that cage and really reclaim our own energy? Well, it seems like we're left with two very different paths. There's the old path, which is all about ego. It's about finding a human leader, using willpower to reprogram your mind to just hustle harder inside the same old system. But then there's this new path. It's about letting go. It's about reconnecting with an intelligence that's way older than us and remembering that we're part of a biological system, not just a societal one. And that brings us to our final takeaway. Maybe the way to break free isn't by trying to master your own isolated mind. Maybe it's by remembering that your mind is part of a much, much larger one, a vast, ancient, and intelligent network that connects all of life.